Okay, so we have successfully completed 4 verses. And as I mentioned in the first discussion, that the 9 steps of bhakti, starting right from Shraddha all the way to Prema, they have been explained in these 11 verses. So the first 3 verses were how do you develop faith? And the first one is by controlling your senses. Vacho vegam, mansa krodh vegam, jibha vegam, udarupastha vegam. The second verse tells us what 6 things not to do. Atyahara priyashascha, prajalpunya mahagraha, jansangha cha, daulyam cha. And then the next 6 verses were telling us what to do. Utsaha nishadhairya tattat karma pravartana sangatyaga shato vritti. Okay, so the first three help us in gaining faith in the process. When we regulate our senses, it helps us gaining. And then the fourth verse that we read the last week and today's verse, that's stressing on sadhu sangha, how to have association of devotees. How do we associate with them? So when we develop Shraddha, we get those qualities which are there in verse 1 to 3. Right? So now we are talking about how we have sadhu sangha. That was the next step, right? So Shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajan kriya, and then comes anartha nivritti. So that's the way it's coming up. And the fourth verse, we read how giving gifts, taking gifts, offering prasadam, taking prasadam, and opening up our heart. Guhyam akhyate prachyati was the phrase that we used. That Guhyam means secret. So confidential. So confidentially opening our heart to devotees. Okay. So today we're doing verse 5. So in verse 5, so it's Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta nikshasti chet pranati bhischa bhajantamisham Sushrushaya bhajana vigyam ananyamanyam nindadi shunya hirdamipsita sangalabdhai. One should mentally honor the devotees who chants the holy name of the Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, Diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So there are 3 levels of devotees that are being talked about. One who is chanting the holy name of the Lord, right? Second is one who has gone through Diksha, that's spiritual initiation. And third, who is undeviatedly performing his devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of propensity to criticize others. The 3 levels of devotees are being mentioned. And Prabhupada, right in the first sentence, Prabhupada says, in order to intelligently apply the sixfold loving reciprocations mentioned in the previous verse, one must select proper persons with careful discrimination. So there are 2 words, judgment and discrimination. There is a fine difference between both of them. So judgment is based on my mental speculation, right? Whereas discrimination is based on guru, sadhu, and shastra. Shastra. So guru is your teacher, sadhu is a devotee, and Shastra is the scriptures. Okay. Uh, if I give you an example, in Mahabharat we had a character called Bhima. Bhima was a, he was a he used to eat a lot. When you look at him for the first time, or somebody hears about him, the judgment would be that he eats too much. But if you talk to his peers, they will have a different view. When I say so, so he had the strength of 1,000 elephants. That's what it was said. So his strength needed that amount of food also. So his body could eat and digest that much amount of food. So it was not that he was eating too much. He was eating that was necessary to keep his body fit. So if we go by speculation, we will say, oh, Bhima overeats. And that's kind of an offense. But if we go by judgment, that is based on hearing from devotees, hearing from a spiritual teacher, and according to the scriptures, Mahabharata being one of those scriptures, we we realize that no, he's eating according to his needs of his body. So similarly, we have judgment about our peers or others surrounding us. So judging is an act of mental speculation, right? And it could be either way. It could be a superiority complex that we may have that, oh, this guy is useless. Or it could be an inferiority complex. And I say, oh my God, I'm useless and everybody else is better than I, right? But then generally, when we judge somebody, we judge it to establish our superiority over others. But it could be either way. Right? So what this verse is teaching us that not to judge anyone. This verse will teach us how to discriminate fit candidates for taking association and having the six exchanges. The six exchanges being dadati pratigharnati, to give and take. This gives. Dadati pratigharnati, uh, guhyamakhyate prachati, that is confidentially sharing our heart. Bhunjate bhojate chaiva, eating prasadam and offering prasadam. So those are the six exchanges. In addition, this verse will help us understand where we stand. And the three levels that Prabhupada talks about right at the beginning in the purport, Kanishta Adhikari, the Madhyam Adhikari, and the Uttam Adhikari. The Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name. So that's, and then that person, one should respect such a person within his mind. Madhyam Adhikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master and has been fully engaged by him in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So the Madhyam Adhikari should be considered to be situated midway in the devotional service. And lastly, the Uttam Adhikari, or the highest devotee, is one who is very advanced in devotional service. Right? So his heart, the Uttam Adhikari is not interested in blaspheming others. His heart is completely clean, and he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness. So yes, so there are three levels that we'll talk about: Kanishta being the lowest, Madhyama being the middle, Uttama being the top. And this verse purport Prabhupada will teach us how to go from the lowest stage, which is Kanishta, all the way up to Uttama. So it will tell us where we stand. This verse and purport will tell us where we stand. Secondly, it will tell us how to go from the lowest to the highest. And secondly, and thirdly, it will also, Prabhupada will explain in the purport towards the end, how not to imitate the topmost. Right? Because when we start imitating, then that becomes sahajiyas. You know, there's a group of people in India who are called sahajiyas. Sahajiya means they have made bhakti very cheap and easy. Right? So if we imitate pure devotees, then we just jump onto what they're doing instead of going through that, whatever, 40, 50 years of spiritual practice to reach that level. They just jump on that level and try to behave like that. So that's again being taught in this verse, that not to do that, not to become a sahajiya. Right? And then all of these three categories have, towards the end, they call adhikari. So it's madhyam adhikari, kanishta adhikari, uttam adhikari. Adhikari, the word adhikari means adhikari is eligibility according to which we get entrance into Krishna's realm. For example, even in this material world, we see clubs that have restricted entrance, right, based on the fee, the position, or whatever it may be. But in the spiritual world, material qualities do not define our position. In the spiritual world, our credentials are faith, our sincerity, our consciousness. Right? So those things define our eligibility. But then the word adhikari means our eligibility is defined according to these aspects, like what kind of faith we have developed, whom are we associating with, what's the level of our consciousness. So let's begin understanding these three positions. Let's see. Yes, so Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about those things. Okay, so let's come to this part. Okay. Prabhupada gives a lot of shastric evidence for all of those categories, right? So if you went through the purport, you would have seen that Prabhupada talks about these. So he specially brings out Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 2nd chapter, where we are given the categories of these three people, these three categories. And then in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela also there are three verses that define those categories. Okay. And what is the discrimination based on? So I've listed some topics here, and we'll go through them for each of those devotees. So let's walk through that. Okay. So the first one is, yes. So the first one Prabhupada begins with is the Kanishta-adhikari, and he's referring to 11 to 47. Okay. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave toward devotees or people in general, is called a Kanishta-adhikari, Prakarta Bhava, Bhakta. So in the Kanishta level, the person's Shraddha is very fragile. And the word fragile, by fragile, I mean that it can be easily shaken up. Let's say a person comes from another organization to come and give a class. I hear from somebody in another organization, and suddenly that person seems very attractive to me. So, whereas let's say I've been a part of following Prabhupada for years, but then suddenly I hear from somebody, and my mind suddenly, oh, this person speaks so well. And then you get attracted to that person. So that shows that your Shraddha is very fragile in what Prabhupada and the Bhagavad Gita is giving us. Okay. So that's the beginning level. Just a minute. Yes. So I'm just going to walk through all these steps that are given here, all these points here. So Shraddha. So their Shraddha is very fragile. Okay. And then what is their self-concept? What do they think about themselves? They're proud of their material qualification. They consider themselves great devotees. But then Krishna, in the I think it's in the Padma Puran, Krishna tells Arjun, no, yeah, one of the Puranas, I don't remember which one. Krishna tells Arjun, Ye me bhakta janah partha, na me bhakta staye chate janah. Mad bhakta nam chaye bhaktas, te me bhakta tamaha mata. What Krishna says is that those who are my direct devotees, they are not actually my devotees. But those people who are the devotees of my servants are actually my devotees. So if my self concept is that I'm very proud to be a devotee of Krishna, then that actually is pushing me away from Krishna. It's not bringing me close to Krishna. So that's the self concept. That's what the Kanishta Adhikari thinks of himself. Okay. How does the person chant? So the person chants with offense. If he has an offensive mindset, right? Because he's not respecting other devotees. So it's an offensive mindset. And uh, as we know, there are 10 different kinds of offenses towards chanting. We'll go through that sometime later. But so yeah, so that's one of those things. But somehow he chants, but the person somehow chants, but then he's offensive in his chanting, in his mindset. Then how does that person deal with the deities, right? So he feels that the Lord is only in the temple. He's not everywhere. He cannot perceive Bhagavan in other living entities. But then Krishna tells us clearly in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 15th verse, Sarvasya chaham hridaya sanivishto, mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. He's saying that Sarvasya chaham hridaya sanivishto. I'm sitting in everybody's heart. But a Kanishta, a lowest level devotee, cannot see Krishna in everybody's heart. So that Kanishta devotee, he'll behave very nicely in the temple. But the moment he's out of the temple, the attitude becomes very offensive towards others. The person can have a very abominable secret life. So I'd mentioned, I think, in the last discussion that we have life at three levels. We have a public life, we have a personal life, and then we have a private life. So public life is what others see it. Personal life is what my family sees, and private life is which nobody else except me knows about me. So a Kanishta Adhikari, they can have very abominable personal and private lives. They might be very good in the public, they might be very good devotees. Right? So that's the way that person behaves. Then how does this person behave with devotees? How does it deal with devotees? So that person mentally, like outwardly, that person might pretend to show respect, call Prabhuji, Mataji, paying obeisances and so forth, speaking sweet language. But then down deep in his heart, he has this sense of competition. He or she, it can be both. Kanishta Adhikaris can be male, female, anybody. So he competes with devotees. That person, because we have a mindset from our material life that this world is a race, that person brings that same mindset to bhakti also. The bhakti is also a race. Who can do better than others? So that person starts thinking, my God or my guru is better than everybody else's. So he or she shows disrespect to others and quarrels with others. So that's how that person deals with devotees. Then, how does that person deal with innocent people? So, innocent people, Kanishta is not intelligent enough. He has not yet read the scriptures enough that he or she can discriminate between one who is innocent and one who is actually envious of you. There's no proper discrimination. You might have seen some devotees, well, I'm not sure if you've seen, but some people are very good, like pompous preachers. They show off a lot in their preaching. They try to establish that, oh, my Bhagavan is the best, or my teacher is the best, right? So sometimes these kind of people, they value material qualities, non-devotional material qualities as important. And then when they don't see it in devotees, they disrespect them. For example, cleanliness or punctuality. When some devotees, when I don't see that in some devotees, I start criticizing them, I start disrespecting them. So that's a mindset of a Kanishta Adhikari. Okay. So sorry. So there is a question, Sandeep Prabhu. Sandeep, you want to speak out your question? Can you elaborate
Yes,
on this?
sure, Prabhuji. Sorry, I didn't want to disturb you while you were speaking, but Prabhuji, I thought like competition when it comes to Krishna was good. Like okay, hey, this person is doing more seva, he's doing this, so I need to do more. So
Mm.
in I thought like competition was good as long as only tailored for Krishna mission. Krishna's mission.
Yes, that's correct. However, the mindset is very different. When a Kanishta Adhikari or the person in a very low mindset, he or she competes, they are competing with the sense that I have to prove myself better than this person, or this person I have to pull his leg down. But when in bhakti that competition happens, it comes from a level of inspiration, that I feel inspired when somebody else does good. I feel like, oh my God, look at this devotee. He's so amazing. He's doing such amazing service. Or wish I could do as good as this person is doing. So the point where that competitive spirit is coming from is very, very different between both of those. Hopefully
Okay.
that was helpful,
Yes,
bro.
yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, one more last thing. So the way they started, right? This whole discussion is basically, initiated people and then going forward, right? So what about
Mhm.
non-initiated people? Because this shlok is only talking about like people who are initiated and thereafter, right?
No, bro. So here, if you see, uh, one should mentally honor the devotees who chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the non-initiated people. Then second group is one who have gone through spiritual initiation, Diksha. Okay. And I'll talk about Diksha in detail towards the end. I'll give you more details. So this Diksha being talked about is the Harinam Diksha, right? So we in ISKCON have two levels of Diksha, as you might know. One is the Harinam Diksha, and then we have a Brahman Diksha. So this second point is talking about people who have received Harinam Diksha. And then the third one is about uh, pure devotees. Uh, Yeah, and Prabhupada, I think, was giving it below, right? Yeah, so Prabhupada also gave here. I think I'll give this as an example here. Uh,
Okay, Prabhuji, because somewhere I read like Kanishta Adhikari was like initiated one,
hmm.
but perhaps I got it wrong.
Yeah, I know you're right. Sorry, no, I think I was getting it wrong. Yeah, so you're right. So Kanishta is the one who has Harinam initiation, and the Madhyama is one who has received Brahman initiation. And then the Uttam Adhikari is the one who has perfected his devotional practices, and his heart has become completely clean. So those are the three levels. So the Diksha is at two levels. Yes, friend. You're right. Yeah. So one is Harinam Diksha, the second one, middle level, is Brahman Diksha.
Okay, Prabhuji. So this shlok actually applies to dealing with these three categories, not right? Not with non-devotees.
Not with non-devotees, yes. Yeah, you
Okay,
can say that.
okay.
And practically, and if you notice one thing, so non-devotees, right? see, when you talk of
I
non-devotees,
mean, Prabhuji, sorry, non-initiated. I mean, non-initiated. I mean,
yeah, and
yeah.
initiation is not that. See, initiation, as the word itself means, is just that the person has been initiated in that process, right? It's not like that person has achieved something. So it's not, yes, for sure, you have taken up a guru, your commitment level is more, but it's not that you are significantly very different from the non-initiated and the initiated. There's a huge difference in between those people. Yes, this commitment level may be more, but we might still be doing things as a somebody who has gone through Harinam initiation. That person may still be doing the same things an uninitiated person talks about does. So yes, I initiated talking about that because there is a sense of commitment. But yes, you're right. In this verse, we are talking specifically about those devotees who have committed, made a sincere commitment to follow this path. And then that commitment levels differ according to the mindset that we have created in the whole practice. Yeah, this is not talking about non-devotees.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll also give some references later on where we can understand how do non how to interact with non-devotees. But we'll go through this. Yes. But so as a Kanishta Adhikari also, the Kanishta Adhikari does not know how to differentiate between, as I was saying, between somebody who's envious and somebody who's innocent. Let's say as a Kanishta Adhikari, I am preaching. And then somebody comes who's trying to just who's envious of me, and he's making fun of me, or he's the question, the way the person is asking me is offensive. But if I'm not able to discriminate that, and then I might respond differently, that I might get angry on that person. But if the same question is coming from an innocent person, I might not be able to distinguish between the innocent and the envious, and I might behave the same way with both of them. So that's also a way we are supposed to interact with non-devotees. So the way a Kanishta or a Madhyam or a Uttama interacts with non-devotees is also very different. So we'll talk about that also a bit as we move forward. Okay, so yes, so we were at Kanishta.
Prabhuji, you said that the first person just chants the name of the Lord. It does not say anything about the initiation.
Prabhupada talks about it in the purport. So this highlighted section that I have with this purple color, Prabhupada's clearly typed, the Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master.
Okay.
And then Madhyam Adhikaris that also Prabhupada is saying receive spiritual initiation. But here Prabhupada is, the difference is Harinam initiation versus spiritual initiation. Harinam initiation is the first step when we commit to this process, when we voluntarily accept a guru, and then we have a process of initiation. But then after that, when we have demonstrated a significant amount of commitment and level of service towards the Lord, then our teacher, a guru, can give us Brahman initiation, which Prabhupada is calling as spiritual initiation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So, okay. So Kanishta, right? So Kanishta. Then I said that Kanishta Adhikari, when the Kanishta Adhikari is preaching, he's very argumentative and he's very boisterous. He's very showy. He's pretending himself. He's showing superiority over others. So when a person is giving a class and he's trying to say that, oh, you all are fools. You're just wasting your life. You know, look at me, what I have done, or look at people like me who have done this so much. They make a very forceful presentation without caring for others' viewpoint. So yes, sometimes some devotees do get forceful in their presentation, but that's coming from a compassionate heart. Prabhupada would get angry on some people sometimes, but that was not because he was trying to present himself as a great personality. No, because he cared about people so much. So once again, the mindset is very, very important here. It's not necessarily that, yeah, in some of these cases, the activity might look similar, but what is the mindset from where that activity is presenting itself will be very, very different. So yes. So how do these people behave? So behavior, preaching activities and behavior. So Prabhupada has mentioned behavior. Prakata Sahajya, we talked about that, Sahajya, right? Material devotees who, without having any spiritual qualification or purification, they claim themselves that they have a taste and emotion and love for Krishna. However, all that is about self-enjoyment. So for example, some people you might see So that's one class of people, sahajis, right? They just pretend that, oh, we have so much love for Krishna. I don't care about the principles, the practices. They all are useless for me. So that's one class of people, Kanishtadhikari. Sometimes people become very much obsessed with ritualistic practices. Okay, oh, we have to do this ritual. This is the way we offer to deities. Oh, I have to wake up at 2 o'clock because in the temple they do Mangalarti at 4. I also will do Mangalarti at 4. I don't care if my whole family wakes up because of my, of my activities. No, that's not important. So they have, but then they have very low basic philosophical understanding. So those all are categories of a Kanishtha-adhikari. Another sign of a Kanishtha-adhikari is that the moment they see a little disturbance, let's say a senior devotee behaving in a way that the person cannot understand, there is some mismanagement in the temple, or there is somebody, like they hear a class from an atheist or some Mayavadi or somebody, or some misery comes in their life, some death or some pain, they immediately lose their faith. So that's a sign of being a Kanishtha-adhikari. Right? So they're not able to appreciate what Prabhupada is saying in the purports and how he's stretching it. So their life becomes very ritualistic, right? And there was once a priest. He was teaching his disciples how to do the rituals in a priest activity. So a cat kept coming in and disturbing him. So he would take the cat, put the cat out of the window. But the cat kept coming in. So he said to his disciples, one of his, please go get me some milk and then get me a basket. So his disciples got him some milk in a basket. So he put the cat close to him, fed that cat some milk, and then when the cat was full, then he put her in the basket and put her to sleep. Okay, and then he did his whatever ritualistic activity he was doing. Many years later, his students were performing a similar yajna, a ritualistic ceremony. They had everything. Okay, this is what our teacher told us. We need all this. One of them suddenly said, "Oh, we are missing one thing. What's that? We need a cat. We need a basket." So they got a cat. They put it in the basket, and then they thought that the practice is complete. So that's an example where we become over ritualistic. We don't understand the reason why we are doing it. Right? Sometimes when you go to the temple, people become very finicky. Oh, you should remove your shoes here. Why have you left the shoes here? They're right in front. Oh, yeah, it's good. You want people to keep the shoes in the right place, but it's not that's the top priority. Coming to the temple, seeing the details. So just I'm giving some examples here, right? So there is very superficial, bodily level kind of behavior. So those are some qualities of a Kanishtha-adhikari. Okay. And let me see if I can show you that verse where Prabhupada is talking about that. One second, let me see if I can find that verse. 11 to 46, I think. Yes, indeed.
Prabhuji, so like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that a true devotee has an ability. I mean, maybe it applies to true devotees only. That ability to see everyone as equal. So this discrimination thing we are talking about in this shloka is actually applying to people who are not pure devotees, right? Because once you are a pure devotee, then obviously one sees everyone equally and there is no discrimination there.
What discrimination? So yes, so a Kanishtha-adhikari doesn't have that discrimination towards anybody, towards a senior devotee, towards a non-devotee. They don't have that discriminative attitude. They cannot discriminate. Oh, this person is to be respected. This person is not. This person is innocent. This person is envious. They can't do it. When Krishna is speaking, he's talking about a pure devotee. That a pure devotee does not have any discrimination towards anybody.
Okay, but yeah,
Pandita,
just wanted to
Pandita
confirm.
Samadarshina. In the
Yeah.
18th verse of the 5th chapter, Krishna says, Brahmadega vihastini sunicheva supakecha Pandita Samadarshina. That person sees everybody as same. He sees a dog, a cow, a human being, all of them say, but that's the qualification of a pure devotee. That's not us. That's not a qualification of a madhyama or a kanishta. That's of an uttam adhikari. Yes,
Got
that
it.
is correct. Okay, so yes, 11 to so yes, as I mentioned, so Prabhupada has given us references, and uh, so one of them is the 11 to 47. Let me share my screen. Yeah. So 11 to 47 is what talks of Kanishta-adhikaris. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple, but does not behave properly toward other devotees or people in general, is called Prakrita Bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. So these are the qualifications of a Kanishta-adhikari. Okay. So then let's go back to C now. So that was Kanishta-adhikari. So now we will do Madhyam-adhikari. So Madhyama, as we all know, Madhyama means middle. Okay, so Madhyama. So these people they're not the lowest, but they're not also the highest. So what are their qualifications? The first and most important is that, let's talk about all those steps as we have listed here, right? So when we discrimination based on, so how are we discriminate? Shraddha, their Shraddha is strong. A Madhyam Adhikari has strong Shraddha, strong enough that he or she does not get confused or does not move from his or her position when something very severe happens in their life, when they see something wrong happening in this devotee surrounding, or when he or she sees some mismanagement in the temple and so forth. Their Shraddha doesn't get shaken up that easy. Right? So that's their level of Shraddha. So it's strong. So then what do they think about themselves? They are trying to be servants of the devotees. Right? So such people have awareness and value of being a Vaishnava. Right? They're struggling. They're struggling devotees. And that they consider themselves as struggling. They know what their problems are. They have a lot of anarthas, there are a lot of defects in them, right? But they're still trying to be servants of the devotees. So, and that concept of serving the devotees, as I mentioned, the verse I was quoting that with Name Bhakta Jana Partha Time Bhakta. So that verse that Krishna says talking to Arjun in Padma Puran. So Madhyam Adhikari has understood that, might not have fully realized it because of the challenges that I have in my heart. My heart is full of envy and jealousy, but I'm trying my best. So that's the level of the self-concept that a devotee has. Right? Chanting, how does that person chant? Okay, he chants, his offenses are going away. So as I mentioned, right? Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivriti. Anartha Nivriti is where all our defects get removed. So that person is at that level. He's a lot of problems in his or her heart. However, he or she is working towards it, and he is seeing some improvement. Okay, yes, things are changing. I know I'm not perfect there. So how would you realize it? A Kanish Adhikari, darkness, pure darkness. Okay, so that's his concept of chanting. He's chanting with so much offense. A Madhyam Adhikari, when he or she chants, it's like as if the sun is coming out. You can't see the sun, but it's daylight. It's kind of, you can see that it's not darkness anymore. So sun is not yet out, but there is light. Right? So that's the level of the Madhyam Adhikari. Right? So that's how he or she chants. Then dealing with deities and the Lord. So that devotee, he loves the deities, he befriends devotees, and he shows compassion to the innocent, and he ignores and neglects the envious. So I'll show you the verse. Which verse is this? Which one is this? 47. I think it's 46. That's the verse. And that's so Ishvare tadhineshu balisheshu dushat sucha prema maitri kripopeksha yaha karoti sa madhyama. Offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to all devotees, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the Madhyam Adhikari. He has developed that discrimination that this person is envious, I should not spend my time with him. I'm not at a level to fix him. Right? This person is innocent. I'll show mercy to this person. And probably if he or she needs some guidance, I'll try my best. And that person is a friend to all the devotees. So that's how he deals with devotees. Okay. Then sorry, what was I- okay, yeah. So dealing with devotees, he's dealing with love, right? And then with innocent people, he's doing with mercy, and then with the envious, he's neglecting them. Yes. So uh, then how does that person preach? What are his preaching activities? Right. So he is convinced of Krishna consciousness. He's no doubts about Krishna consciousness. However, that person may or may not be able to give very convincing arguments. Okay. So what does a convincing argument mean? A convincing argument would mean that you are able to substantiate what you are saying with Shastric reference. You're not just pulling some thoughts out of a hat. You have some Shastric reference, right? Somebody might say, like, oh, you're not a body, you're a soul, right? So, but then if we give Shastric reference from the Bhagavad Gita, right, then that person becomes a Kanishta-adhikari, that okay, oh no, this person is right. This is what it means, right? So can anybody think of a verse from the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that you're not a body, you're a soul? Maybe remembers this from the Bhagavad Gita? No? Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhiras tatra namuyate. Krishna talks about this, that he's saying, just like you're passing from one body, when like from old youth to old age to death, similarly, your soul is passing from one body to another, that there is no death for you. So Krishna says that in the 13th chapter, 13th verse of the second chapter. So so I'm just giving you an example. How would you substantiate something? Through Shastric evidence. So that's the quality of a Madhyama. The Madhyama can do that. Okay. How does his behavior? I talked about his behavior, right? So the behavior is from here. Yes, the behavior, that person's behavior is that he understands his or her limits. He's able to discriminate envious, whether the person is condescending or he's just innocent, right? So that's the way he or she behaves. So how do you respond? So now coming back to the verse that we are reading, how do you respond to somebody who's a Madhyamadikari? It's given in the head. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotees who has undergone that spiritual initiation, that diksha, who's a Madhyamadikari. Okay, so that's the way we listen. Dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantam nisham. Dikshasti chet. Yes, we do that. Okay. I'll take a pause here, see if anybody has any questions. This is a very fundamental principle of this whole philosophy. You should know this. You should know how to discriminate devotees on the basis, not to insult anybody. Understand that clearly. Nowhere is Prabhupada or Rupa Goswami saying that if the person doesn't fall is a Kanishta, you start just blasting them and disrespecting them. Not to do that, but how you have to learn to discriminate. So, any thoughts, comments, questions here before I move ahead to Uttama?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have one doubt. So about the preaching concept, did you say that Madhyamadikari are convinced, but they are not able to give convincing arguments from Shastric reference?
Sometimes, I'm not saying it's every time. It could be, right? But and when I say, I meant convincing arguments. Yes, they might give Shastric reference, but then they're interpreting the Shastric, might not be perfect, right? But then they themselves in their heart, they're convinced, 100% sure that this bhakti is the true path. I have to be here. I'm convinced about Krishna consciousness. So understand, A lowest level person, he is not at all convinced about bhakti, about the path. He's just showing off. The middle level person, he is convinced, but he's not able to probably convince others. At least, a few times. I'm not saying that he's never able to convince others. Might be sometimes he is able to, sometimes he's not. The topmost level, Uttam Adhikari, he is so perfect that he can convince anybody, like Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, he came to a country where people were just, wallowing in all sorts of nonsense. He came here and he made them devotees. He was never affected by them because his arguments were very convincing and perfect. So that's the topmost level. So yes, these are the three levels how to understand that. Did
I
I answer
see.
your question?
Yeah, you did. Thank you. So in that case, like for the Kanishta Adhikari, you mentioned that they are like pretty bolsterous, showy,
Mhm.
and then like they are very forceful in demonstrating their knowledge or presenting. You
And showing in a sense of superiority. Yes. Yeah.
okay?
And
Okay,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
but
Go ahead.
no, no. But then they are not convinced within about what they are reading, right?
Yes, yes. They're not convinced. They're just trying to pretend to convince. And there could be many reasons behind it. They might be, see, we all have a lot of defects in our heart. There is no problem with having defects. The problem is when I'm trying to hide those defects and try to pretend somebody I'm not. That's where humility comes in. When we are humble, I understand I have problems. I'm not pretending to be somebody else, and I'm trying my best to fix those problems. And while I'm trying to fix those problems genuinely. I'm going to behave I might hurt some devotees. I'm not trying to hurt anybody, but then because I'm still a fool, I just do some stupid things, and probably in that path I hurt somebody. But I'm not trying to do that, right? So understand that we all are in this path. It's not like a black and white. It's a very grayish area.
Mm-hmm.
And but what I'm explaining is you could discriminate when you see other devotees, and you could also understand where do you stand in the whole process. That's the purpose of this verse and the purport,
Right.
right? Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anyone?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
How can I understand this word discriminate?
So discriminate. So see. Let's look at that. Judgment and discrimination. When I judge somebody, I'm finding faults in that person. That this person is just useless. Look at him. What is he doing? He doesn't know how to do arti. Look at him singing kirtan. He seems as if he thinks he's a very big singer. He's a useless singer. I'm judging at that moment. I am criticizing that person, trying to pull him or her down from where they are. That's judgment. Discrimination means I see something in the other person and understand that, hey, I don't understand what's going on with this other person. So I will distance myself from this person or not associate with this person, not because I find faults in that person, but because I don't understand it. It's my limitation. So I'm going to just limit myself and not hang out with this person because I don't understand that person yet. So that's discrimination. Judgment is when we criticize others. Discrimination is when we are making a judgment, making a thought process without being offensive to others. And my decision is based on what I've learned from the scriptures. Like I just quoted that verse, right? 11:247. A Madhyam Adhikari, he distances himself from the envious because I don't know how to handle envious people. That Madhyam Adhikari would think. So he distances himself from that. An Uttam Adhikari does not distance himself from envious people. He can convince them because he's a pure devotee. So that's how you differentiate between judgment and discrimination. It's a fine difference. Was that helpful, Prabhu?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So, Prabhuji, discrimination is for your own benefit, right? For the devotee's own benefit.
Yes, that's correct. It's for your own benefit. We don't discriminate to insult others. We don't discriminate to be offensive, condescending to others. Never. Don't do that. But yes, you can discriminate just for your own, own safety, I would say, right? That I don't know why that other person is behaving this way. Might be this is a expression of a very elevated level of bhakti and which I don't understand. So I will stay away from that. That's the kind of a thought process. Yes. Yes, Sanvi, you had your hand raised. Please tell me.
Prabhuji, so how does like a Kanishta-adhikari act with like another Kanishta-adhikari? Like, how are they supposed to interact with each other?
Well, so Kanishta has very minimal capacity to discriminate between who that person is. So as I say, Kanishta does not discriminate between, oh, this is an Uttam Adhikari, this is a pure devotee, or this is a Madhyam Adhikari, or this is a non-devotee. He doesn't have that capacity, that mental acumen as of yet to discriminate. So when he sees another Kanishta Adhikari, he's offensive towards that person, saying that, oh my God, look at him. What is he trying to pretend to be? Or look at him, he's just very boastful, or he's being too ritualistic. So he will look down upon that person. Just like, so yeah. So then,
oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead, tell me.
So how do we act towards a Kanishta-adhikari?
So
Like not
So-
all of them are envious, right? So then like
see, we all have to strive to move up on this path, Kanishta to Madhyama to Uttama. By hearing what the qualities are, you can consciously try to pull yourself away from that. If you see that you are offensive or condescending towards other, you should consciously stop yourself from doing that. At least at the minimum, don't verbalize it, don't speak it out. Even if it is in your heart or mind, don't speak it out. That's a good checkpoint you can have. Kanishta don't have that. As I was saying, they're very boisterous, they're very showy in their presentation. So that's the level of a Kanishta. So you can try to move from the level of Kanishta to a Madhyama by controlling your, how you are being offensive, or by distancing yourself from people whom you don't understand, or you feel like, oh my God, I don't understand this, I'll stay away from it. So you can consciously move to that next level. At least try to. Eventually, it's all Krishna's mercy that comes in, but we should all consciously and genuinely, sincerely try to move from Kanishta to Madhyama.
okay.
I'm not sure. Was that what you were asking?
Kinda.
Okay.
Thank you for
Okay. Yes. Anything else from anyone? No? Okay. And as a matter of fact, I just wanted to show you a verse. Let's see, where was that? Did I pull it up? Oh, this is the verse. Yes, I wanted to show you a verse where Prabhupada actually gives a very good example of what happens when you insult somebody even unknowingly. Right? Knowingly you do it, it's a big, banging your head against the wall. But even if unknowingly you do it, it can hurt your bhakti. So we all have to be very, very conscious when we are interacting with anybody for that matter. Devotees, for sure, Krishna does not appreciate it. You insult a devotee, Krishna is going to bang on, be hurt by that. He's not going to appreciate that. However, Prabhupada actually taught us that we should not be insulting and criticizing anybody for that matter. Don't do that because you don't know who that other person is. And I'll give you an example where Prabhupada gives that. Fourth canto, there's a story of Dhruv Maharaj, 4:9, and there's a verse where Prabhupada just talks in the purport. Okay. So this is the story of Dhruva. Just to give you a background, Dhruva has been meditating in the forest. Oh, sorry, let's take a step back. Dhruva gets insulted by his stepmother. He was trying to sit on his father's lap. His stepmother, Suruchi, pulls him away, says, "You cannot sit on the king's lap. That's the prerogative of my son." Dhruva gets very angry, goes to his mother, says, how can I have a kingdom even bigger than my father? She says, only Vishnu can give you. And Vishnu, I know that devotees go to the forest to meditate. So he goes to the forest and he meditates and he sees Vishnu. And now Vishnu is telling him what is going to happen in the future. Okay. So this is 4:9:23. And let me show you something. So here, Dhruv Maharaj came to the forest. I'm going to read something. Dhruv Maharaj came to the forest to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a revenging spirit against his stepmother. His stepmother had insulted Dhruva, who was not an ordinary person but a great Vaishnava. An offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is the greatest offense in the world. So a devotee, never offend, greatest offense in the world. Because of having insulted Dhruva, Maharaj, Suruchi would become mad upon the death of her son and would enter a forest fire, and thus her life would be ended. This was specifically mentioned by the Lord to Dhruv because he was determined for revenge against her. From this, we should take lesson that we should never try to insult a Vaishnava. However, further Prabhupada goes on to say, not only should we not insult a Vaishnava, we should not insult anyone unnecessarily. When Suruchi insulted Dhruv Maharaj, he was just a child. She, of course, did not know that Dhruv was a great recognized Vaishnava. And so her offense was committed unknowingly. When one serves a Vaishnava unknowingly, one still gets a good result. And if one unknowingly insults a Vaishnava, one suffers a bad result. So, never insult anybody. Be on the safe side. And that will put us on a Madhyama platform where we just try to not insult anybody and be, okay, let's just distance ourselves. So just that was a reference for your record. Okay, so let's move on to the third one, which is the Uttam Adhikari. So now Uttam Adhikari, as the top says, as it says, Uttama, Uttama, when it's like Uttama means topmost, right? So their Shraddha is unbreakable. This just can never be shaken. And they can convince anybody. And the example for all of us is Prabhupada. He comes in the middle of America, he converts everybody around him to a devotee. Right? So, and then how does that devotee look towards himself? He does not make any distinction between a devotee or a non-devotee. Right? So we were talking about earlier we were talking about Bhagavad Gita, right? So it's 5th chapter, verse number 18. Brahmani adhyay karmani sangam tyaktva, no, not that, sorry. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini suni chaiva supakecha pandita samhadarshini. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, an outcast. So that's an example of a Uttam Adhikari. He does not discriminate between anybody, but then don't try to pretend. So once again, I'm stressing on it. Don't imitate, follow. Okay. There's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also that confirms there, where Mahaprabhu says, Thavara Jangama dekhe, na dekhe tare murti, sarvatra hai nija ishta devasturti. That person, he does not see anything mobile in mobile. He just sees Krishna everywhere. Right? When Prahlad Maharaj was asked, where is your Bhagavan? Hiranyakashipu was asking him. He said, my Lord is everywhere. But Hiranyakashipu could not understand that. What do you mean everywhere? So he asked him, is this in this pillar, that pillar, right? So the mindset of a pure devotee, of an Uttam Adhikari, is very much like this example is given in the Shastras, where it says like a young boy falling in love with a young girl, like a teenager kind of that kind of a love, right? He says, Yuvati nam yatha yuni, yunam cha yuvatau yatha, mano me abhiramatai tadvad, mano me ramatai tvai. So the speaker is requesting the Lord that may I fall in love with you, just like a yuvati, a young girl falls in love with a young boy, and vice versa. So that's the kind of a level of affection that a pure devotee has for Krishna. He doesn't care about this material world. His chanting is pure, 100% pure. It's like the bright sun up in the sky. Okay. How does he deal with the Lord and the deities? He sees the Lord everywhere. Yeah. And then how does he deal with the devotees? He says he's the servant of the servant of the servant. Right? Gopi bhartu padakamaleva das das anudas. I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. That's the quality of a pure devotee. And that really pleases Krishna a lot. Right? Mahaprabhu says this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Naham Vipro, Nacha Narapati, Naapi Vaishya na Shudra, that I'm not falling in any of the categories. Naham Varni, na Grahapati, na Vanishto Vanati Vaha. Kintu Prodyan Nikhilita Pramananda, forgot that verse. But the last is Gopi Bhartu Padakamalaya Dasa Dasan. That's what he says. He excludes him for all the categories. I'm not a Brahman, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a householder, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm nothing. I am a servant of the servant of the servant. That's what makes a devotee very lovable and very, very affectionate. Krishna becomes very affectionate to such a devotee. So that's the mindset of an Uttam Adhikari. And so dealing with people, he has no discrimination. When that pure devotee preaches, actually, because just imagine, right? This person, a pure devotee, he sees Krishna everywhere. Then how can he preach somebody if he's seeing everybody as Krishna? And everybody's heart as Krishna. He's saying, oh my God, this person is he has Bhagavan sitting in his heart. So that pure devotee will be paying obeisances to everybody. How can he teach them? So for teaching, the pure devotee comes to the Madhyama level, right? So he comes to the middle level and he brings his knowledge, his acumen from that Uttama level, but he comes to the Madhyama level, and that Madhyama level, the quality he knows that, okay, I see that, okay, these people are not that elevated, these people are pure devotee. He sees that, he just makes that discrimination for a preaching purpose, not for any other reason. Otherwise, he sees everybody as Krishna, right? So so he has to come to a level where he can preach, right? Okay. Krishna also says this in the sixth chapter, towards the end, I think 32nd verse. Atma upena sarvatra samam pashyati yo Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukham sa yogi paramo matah. Krishna says, who's the topmost yogi? Who is Atma upena sarvatra. That he's looking at everybody with a very merciful glance. Once what happened, what Prabhupada was in Florida, I think he was in Florida, he saw a big golf yard, a golf place, what do we call it? And he has come from India. India was not played nobody used to play golf in India at that time, 60s, 70s. So he asked his disciples, what are these guys doing? Like he saw they were old people, right? 60, 70-year-old. And so he said, so his disciple told him, Prabhupada, this is a game. They hit a ball into a hole. And Prabhupada actually started crying. His eyes went moist. Why? Because he's saying, oh my God, look at these people. The entire life they spent feeding their family, paying their mortgages, running after position, money. And now that they have time, they're wasting their time in just hitting a ball in a hole. So a pure devotee is aware of the pain that is inherent in this material world. He becomes very sensitive. And Shastra says that person becomes as sensitive as an eyeball. You might have seen if something, even a minor thing comes and sticks to your eyeball, you become very agitated. You rub your eye starts watering. That's the level of sensitivity a pure devotee has. Right? So, and then the last thing, behavior. How does this pure devotee behave with others? Wherever this pure devotee resides, people around him become pure devotees. Right? All Prabhupada did was went and chanted in the Tompkins Square Park. All of you, if you haven't been to New York, you should go. Tompkins Square Park, there's a tree. It's commemorated as the birthplace of Hare Krishna movement. There's a plaque on that tree. You can go see that tree under which Prabhupada sat, and he started a worldwide movement. But that's the qualification of a pure devotee. He can change the whole world. Right? So he's expert in serving Krishna. So, and then he's this verse of what we are reading right now in Nectar of Instruction. It says, Nindadi shunya hridaya psita sarvalambe. So he has shunya ninda. He has no envy in his heart, zero. Right. So that's the quality of a pure devotee. So that's the uttama level. Okay. And wherever these pure devotees go, it becomes a site of pilgrimage. So understand this. When we all go to Vrindavan, or at least when I go to Vrindavan, I purify myself. I'm going there for my own purification. But when a pure devotee goes there, he actually purifies that holy place. That's the quality of a pure devotee. Therefore, wherever Prabhupada went, it became a holy place. Prabhupada came to whichever temple Prabhupada went, it became a pilgrimage, a site of pilgrimage for us. And even the Shastras, this is said, where Yudhishthira Maharaj, he's talking to Vidur. Vidur has come back and he's saying to Vidur that he's glorifying Vidura. And Bhavad Vidha Bhagavatas, Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibhu, Tirtha Kurvanti Tirthani, Swanthasthena Gadha Bharta. This comes in the first canto, 13th chapter, verse number 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it said that Yudhishthira is speaking to Vidura that people like you are holy places personified. Because you carry the Lord within your heart, wherever you go, that becomes a place of pilgrimage. So these are these three levels. So I'll pause, see if this is very clear to all of you. As I said, an important principle. So we should all be clear about this and use it not to judge others, but to develop a sense of discrimination and a respect accordingly those people. No insulting or condescending. Just be clear. So hopefully this has worked out. Yes, please, Gandharvika.
So is pure devotee only achieved become one becomes pure devotee only by the practice, not somebody just become as born as a pure devotee from the beginning?
Well, that practice might have been done in the past lives. You might not have seen it. You might not see it. Right? So when you say by birth, we all have had multiple births. But a pure devotee might have practiced a lot in his or her past life. And in this life, when he or she appears, they come up as pure right away. And we might think, oh, they have not put in any effort, but they have in their past lives. Right? We have the story of Bharat Maharaj, right? So Bharat Maharaj, one life, he comes to the Bhava platform, just one step less than prema, pure love for Krishna. And he falls down. He becomes a deer in his next life. And in the third life, he becomes he gets a human birth again. But then right from the birth, he knew, oh my God, I have made mistakes in my past lives. I'm not messing around anymore. And he's just completely, he's not pretending himself to be anything. He's just trying to stay away from everybody, do his sadhana. So yes, some people are born with that, but then they have done those practices in their past lives.
Thank you.
Anything else, anyone? No? Okay. So this
Hare
is one.
Krishna.
Yes, please. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhuji. So you had mentioned just a little while ago in reference to Prabhupada, how pure devotees, wherever they go, that place becomes a holy place. Prior to that, you had mentioned something else in reference to the pure devotees. What was that?
I had talked about being as sensitive as an eyeball. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Can you
Yes.
go on to that a little?
So you know how sensitive our eyeball is, right? Like even if a small piece of dust comes, we become agitated. Our eye starts watering. We rub our eye; it becomes very, very uncomfortable. What I was giving that example for was that's the level of sensitivity a pure devotee has towards the people in general. He's extremely sensitive towards the pain and the misery that everybody is going through in this world. I might not see that misery, but the pure devotee can just see it through. Oh my God, why are you suffering? Please come back home to God with me. So that's the level of sensitivity he or she has towards the people in general. That's what I meant. That's what you're referring to, Matthew?
Yes, Prabhuji, that's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
You're welcome. Okay. Going one, going two, going three. Okay, no more questions. Let's move on. So this was one concept. There is in this process, as you have seen in the purport, Prabhupada starts by talking about initiations. And so I just wanted to give you an overview of what initiation is, right? Prabhupada talks of these initiation throughout this purport, right? So it's important that we understand these levels also. So let me just show you what's there in initiation. Is this it? Yes. Okay. So there are two definitions given of initiation. So the first one says, at the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders to the service of the Lord himself, Krishna accepts him as good as he himself. So this is just an example of what does this initiation mean. So this initiation, one gradually becomes disinterested in material enjoyment and gradually becomes interested in spiritual life. Okay? So initiation is us taking that vow, taking that commitment that yes, we have accepted what this whole process is, we have faith in this, and now we are beginning this process, and we are going to sincerely, consistently trying to improve upon what ourselves according and mold ourselves according to the principles of bhakti. So that's basically the step of initiation. But let's just walk through this. Okay, so sorry, move away from there. Okay. Oh, let's how to start, how to explain that to you. I've mentioned here Panch Samskar here, right? It says Panch Samskar. And so the Panch Samskar means 5 impressions, or there are 5 purifying processes, which are given by a spiritual teacher to a student to help them begin their devotional life seriously. Okay. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so let's come back. I was just so Panch Samskar, right? So that's something that the spiritual master gives to a student, right? And they are like the sacred steps that turn a person who's merely interested in the process into a practicing committed devotee. Okay, so there's a 5 steps to it, and I will explain to you how these each step works, and it'll help you understand what this whole process is, and why do we have initiations and what's going on here, right? And all that. And I'm just looking up. So the first step is tapa. Okay, as you will see in here, in the 5 of these steps. So starting from the bottom, this is tapa. Okay. So tapa is the beginning of a spiritual life. Tapa means in the common sense, if you say it's more of a tapa. Tap means heat, right? So there's a sense of repentance in your heart. Not like being guilty about something, but more like having a sincere regret for our past mistakes. And okay, I realize what I've been doing my whole life. For example, I'll give you my example. When I started practicing bhakti, this is way back in 2010. I got associated with devotees, and I got to hear a bit here and there, got some understanding of the philosophy. I was doing my PhD at that time, and it involved a lot of interacting with animals. We used to work a lot on mice, rats, rabbits, so forth. And one point, I felt deep regret for what I have been doing with those animals, just misusing them, and just like as if they have no life in them. So I went and told my PI, my boss, my professor, whom I was doing my PhD under. I told him that, hey, I cannot kill. I'll not kill any more animals. I'll not work with animals anymore. It hurts me. And obviously, that didn't go well with my boss, with my PI. He put in some. He asked me to actually force me to spend some more time in the lab, but that's okay. But then, so that's an example of how when we come to a level and we say, oh my God, yes, I've been making mistakes, not being guilty, but then just making, and I have a desire to change. Okay, so in our system, this kind of transformation is demonstrated when we put tilak, right? You all must have seen there's a tilak that you put on your forehead. It's like a U sign, and then there's a tulsi leaf that we make on it, right? So it's not a mark on your body. It's the change of your heart. I have spent my whole life, but not understood the principle, the purpose. Now I want to surrender to Krishna. So it's creates some sort of a heat in your body, demanding change. So that's the first step, tapa. Okay. Then so then comes the tilak part, right? So I was just talking about the tilak part, right? Vaishnava tilak. Devotees put the Vaishnava tilak on 12 parts of their body, right? Their shoulders, on your chest, on your back, and so forth, right? So it signifies that our body is a temple of Vishnu. So it's a reminder for us to live purely, okay? Because the body is meant for Krishna's service. So that's the second level. So first is there's some sense of atonement. Then second one is we are accepting ourselves that this body is meant for Krishna's service. Not that I have reached that level, but at least I have got that understanding to some extent. So it's a reminder for me to live purely. So there's Pundra, that's called Pundra. And the third is Nama. So Nam is a spiritual name. It could mean a spiritual name and a holy name, right? The guru, a spiritual master, gives us a new name, right? Govinda Das, Krishna Dasi, showing you now that you now identify as a servant of Krishna. So some of you are initiated. For example, my initiated name is Prem Dham Das. Prem Dham means an abode of love. I'm not an abode of love, nowhere close to that. What am I? I'm a servant, Das. That's the important part of my name. The first part is, yes, it's a mercy of my guru. But then the Das word is, what is the most important part? I'm a servant. Am I living my life with my name given by my guru? That's what I have to question myself the whole time. Right? And then also, Nama also means the holy name. The guru will formally give us the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to chant every day. Right? But that doesn't mean that what you have been chanting is of no use. No, it's of use also. But this is a more of a commitment and an official connection with the parampara. Right? After that is the level of, it says mantra after nama. So these first three steps are covered in the Harinam Diksha, the first Diksha that we all get, the first initiation in ISKCON. That's called the Harinam Diksha. So these three steps are covered in that. Once our guru sees that this person has been very sincere in his or her practice, is committed, is progressing, and is strengthening his bhakti, that guru can decide whether this person is ready for the Brahman Diksha or not. Okay? So what does this Diksha mean? This is a confidential mantra. This is the Gayatri mantra, and there are other mantras associated with Guru and Mahaprabhu, which are given to a devotee during the second initiation. The Harinam mantra, when you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you chant it loud enough for you to hear. This Gayatri mantra is, you can chant that silently. Right? So the purpose is that it deepens your connection with Krishna. Now you are focusing your mind on very regulated worship. In ISKCON, only devotees who are second initiated can get onto the altar. You cannot go to the deities without doing that. And then you can also cook for the deities after second initiation. So it deepens your connection because now you're coming very close to the deity, to the Lord himself. And the last one is a yaga, however you want to pronounce it. Right. So this is using the mantra and guidance of the guru. The devotee learns how to worship the deity, whether at home or in the temple. Okay? But when we worship a deity, you are practically using every possible sense of yours. Okay? In the seventh chapter, fourth and fifth verse, right? Seventh chapter, Krishna says, Bhumir apo nalo vayu kham mano buddhire vacha ahankareti yamte bhin prakarashtada. He's giving five things in the material world. Bhumi, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. Okay. So when you do Aarti, you're practically surrendering all these 8 things back to Krishna. So using every possible thing that's in this material world and what you have, your senses, right? Your mind, intelligence, ego, you're surrendering everything to the Lord. So that's the level of purification where it comes, when the second initiation happens. Not that anybody who gets second initiation is that level, but then they're sincerely aspiring to be at that level. So this is a 2-step initiation. First is Harinam initiation. Devotee is given a spiritual name. The guru formally gives the Hare Krishna mantra. The devotee vows to chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles. And that corresponds to Nam, Tapa, and Pudra. Okay. So in summary, the Harinam initiation, those first 3 steps, they introduce a devotee formally into Krishna's family by giving a name, by daily chanting, by regulated lifestyle. Next initiation, the Brahman initiation. What happens? The devotee receives Gayatri mantra and some other mantras which are chanted privately. They learn deity worship procedures. They're qualified to enter the altar and perform puja of the deities. And that corresponds to the mantra and the yagya part of this process. So Brahman initiation gives the devotee the sacred mantras and training to serve Krishna through puja and rituals, taking their sadhana to a very deeper level. Okay. This was this part for initiation, because Prabhupada talks about this in the purport. I brought this so that it's clear to all of us. So the description I just gave of initiation and how it works, I wanted to stress on some points. One thing, Prabhupada has given us everything we need in his books. All we need to do is just invest faithfully in them. I have met devotees who come and say, oh, Prabhupada didn't give this in his books. It didn't talk about prema, love in his books. All nonsense. Prabhupada has given us everything you need. I might not be able to see that, but Prabhupada has given us everything. Secondly, when you see something happening, many people will come. I have met people who have come and said, oh, Prabhupada came and he just invented something out of the air, and he just pulled it out of a hat the day he landed in the US. No. Prabhupada presented everything according to Shastras, Puranas, Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. He never created anything out of thin air. So he was very, very clear. He was bringing everything from Shastra. That is why what Prabhupada has done, nobody has done in the entire history of mankind. I keep telling this to devotees. To condense the philosophy of the Vedas, Upanishads, in such practical principles that you can just take it home and become a pure devotee. That's the beauty of what Prabhupada has given us. So yes, so that's why I'm giving you these details, right? Yeah. So yeah, okay. I'll pause here. See if anybody has any thoughts, any comments on what we just discussed.
Prabhuji, after the second initiation, if everything goes well according to Krishna's mercy and Guru's mercy, then one becomes a pure devotee. And then there is no another initiation after that. What is like?
There is no initiation after that. We
Okay.
just do initiation.
Okay.
And being a pure devotee is not a designation. It's not like if you and I get a Brahmin initiation, we become pure devotees. Pure devotee, as I've explained earlier, Uttam Adhikari, it's a mindset. How do you look at other people? How do you behave? If you see Prabhupada has, if I'm not wrong, probably you think he had 11,000 recorded, 11,000 hours worth of recording. No, I might be mistaken, but thousands of hours of recording, video, audio. He didn't have any private life. He was not like, oh no, after 8 o'clock, I live in a room, nobody comes and meets him. No, his life was open, a pure devotee. How does a pure devotee live, think? That's what makes him a pure devotee, not what designation he or she has.
Got it. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, in this verse where Srila Jiva Goswami says, Divya Jnanam Yato Dadyat.
Mhm.
So can you maybe explain how should I understand Divya Jnanam?
So Divya Jnanam, so the Divya means transcendental, right? So when we get Diksha, we become disinterested in this material knowledge, and our interest in transcendental knowledge increases. That's what Diksha does. And it's not just that my efforts work, it's the mercy of the Guru also. When that Guru gives us initiation, he's also giving us mercy. He's opening up his heart, and he's saying, hey, you're making these vows, and I am here to support you. And because our Guru is a pure devotee, he has a direct connection with Krishna. He can give us that mercy, that Krishna's mercy. He can serve as a conduit, a channel to give us that mercy. And that will eventually increase our interest in transcendental knowledge, in a spiritual lifestyle. That's what Diksha will do. Did that help, Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. However, I should mention this. If I don't put in the effort, if I am not sincere and consistent in my practice, however mercy I may get, 1 guru, 10 guru, 100 gurus, I will not be able to progress. Our effort has to be there. And I repeat, I've said this already a few times. I'm going to repeat this throughout the Bhakti Shastri. Sincerity, consistency is the way you show your love to Krishna. So that is important. That's has to be there. Okay. We are at 8:25 close to. Anything else, anyone?
So, Prabhuji, I have a question. So
Yes,
even before this whole initiation process, right? So are there any like preparation, or is there any other process that needs to be followed, like before the initiation? Like
Before the initiation, we all should say, until unless you don't have a formal living guru, okay, Diksha Guru,
right.
Prabhupada is our guru. Prabhupada is the preeminent Siksha Guru for ISKCON forever, till the date ISKCON exists on this face of earth. So if we don't have a formal guru, we follow what Prabhupada has told us, and we sincerely try to develop those qualities which Prabhupada has asked us to develop. That is the preparatory mode you have to be in. I'm not saying that you have to be perfect on the day of your initiation, that I'm perfect 100% and now my guru will give me initiation. No. Your desire should be there, your sense of commitment should be there, and you're sincere in your practice. Even though you're not perfect, the guru will understand that you're ready for Harinam initiation. That's the practice you have to have.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, one thing to just keep in mind, just kind of repeating that, discriminate on the basis of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, but don't judge on the basis of your mental speculation. Seek proper association, right? If you don't associate with the right kind of people, I will always be a Kanishta. If I associate with Kanishtas, I'll always be a Kanishta. Not that I'm looking down upon the Kanishtas. I'm just trying to see what's my benefit. Okay? Just be careful about that, right? And don't imitate people who are higher up the ladder. Okay? Once Prabhupada had a disciple, so Prabhupada would bring his disciples to India. Once Prabhupada had brought many of his disciples to Mayapur. And one of his disciples he was just chanting near the Jalangi. There's a Jalangi river. This is Ganga in Bengal. It's called Jalangi. That's what my understanding is. But then that's the river that flows besides Mayapur, in Mayapur. So there, the devotee would chant 192 rounds every day. Prabhupada would tell him, don't do that. Just follow what I have given you. But that devotee thought he was become a pure devotee. He'll chant like a Babaji, 192 rounds. One day he came and started telling Prabhupada that you have to raise your standards of ISKCON devotees. They should chant more. After a few days, that devotee was not seen anywhere. 30 years later, one of Prabhupada's disciples met that devotee. And you know what he was doing? He was working at a gas station, as a gas station attendant. So he completely went off bhakti. When you imitate, you will fall off the process. If you follow, be humble, everything will come to you. Okay? So become a devotee by your qualities. You're not a devotee by birth, might be. Some of you might be, I'm not sure. But try to be a devotee by a Brahmana by qualities. Okay? The qualities of a Brahmana are given in the Bhagavad Gita. Samo, damo, tapa, shaucham. Be clean, be in a mode of goodness. That's not just the quality of Harinam initiated, of Brahmana initiated. Everybody should develop those qualities. And it automatically propels us to be in the higher modes.